Welcome to All Things Green. I'm Shelby, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. Angela Yeager is the director of the Environmental Justice Semester at Laurel School, which I'll let her tell you all about in just a moment. Angela, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start by just getting to know you. Let's learn a little bit about where you're from, what you're doing now.
So I'm a teacher, a mom, an activist, and just a perpetual optimist who really wants to change the world and leave it better than I found it.
And you're from right here in Ohio?
Yeah, I grew up in Ohio, and it's been a long journey from growing up on what I saw as the mistake on the lake growing up to recognizing how lucky we are here, and really that there's no better place to call home.
Awesome. And you work here at Laurel School, right? Which I think I've been calling the Laurel School, but saw in your notes, I think we leave, it's like Facebook, drop the. So you work at Laurel School, which is right here in Greater Cleveland, as the director of the Environmental Justice Semester. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I have long heard about Laurel School and its reputation for just cultivating strong girls who lead. And I was aware of their Butler campus, which I knew to have sports fields and an outstanding pre-kindergarten. And I heard some rumblings about a more extensive outdoor school plans. So I came out of the pandemic really ready to return to the classroom. And after some glorious slow downtime with my family, which was such a privilege that I know not everybody had. When I applied for an admired upper school teaching position, but I was contacted with a rather mysterious offer to be a part of a team to start what I would later learn was the world's first immersive environmental justice semester.
Ooh, how did that come to be? How did the Environmental Justice Semester come to be?
So I have to give credit to Ann Klotz, who is our head of school, the teams of teachers, and really our fourth grade team who designed an entire unit called Power and Purpose for their fourth grade girls. And really that went on to become their fourth grade experiential curriculum at Butler. But there was just a team of folks along the way who moved the idea forward. And while I can't speak directly for Ann Klotz, she really imagined a semester experience that combined our Butler campus and its natural beauty and the research conducted by the Laurel Center Research on Girls around resilience and leadership, and really just combine that with our DEIB efforts, which are diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And just this idea to inspire girls to fulfill their promise and to better the world. So I think that this environmental justice semester really was the full package.
I love that. And I can attest to how beautiful the Butler campus is. I was there and just walked around thinking, this is not what my high school looked like. It was really beautiful. But I think you talked about this a moment ago, that this is the first of its kind. So this isn't some national model that Laurel School is adapting. And so why Laurel? Why would Laurel be the place that an environmental justice semester begins?
So, I just want to go back to environmental justice.
Sure, yeah.
And why environmental justice. And, which really, for those of you who might not know, is the fair treatment and meaningful involvement of all people, regardless of race, of color, national origin, or income, with the respect to the development, implementation, and enforcement of environmental laws and policies. And really, there's so much intersectionality with climate justice and racial justice and social justice. And, environmental justice isn't just about having a clean environment for all. It's really about having a seat at the table. And we didn't really know that this was something completely novel until I happened to be in Houston, and I got to meet Dr. Robert Bullard, who many refer to as the father of environmental justice, along with his wife, who doesn't often get the credit.
Intersectional, as everything is.
But so we were touring this just unbelievable oil and gas build out in Houston, and we saw the flares from those plants, and we're at a baseball field right nearby. And I had a moment with him where I told him about the semester, and he paused and made me repeat myself and said, "Wait, this doesn't exist yet, this environmental justice semester. And I think in that moment, I knew, and then, Laurel School also knew that this was something really innovative that we were doing. And we really wanted this semester to be available to all students, not just our Laurel students. So we designed it in a way that a student can kind of pause their studies at their current school and enroll in this semester, and then return to their private, parochial, or public school at the end of the semester.
And Laurel School is a private school, correct?
It is, yep. We're a private school that believes in, the public purpose of private education, which I think is part of the reason why, Laurel's been able to do this kind of work.
Yeah, so maybe fewer roadblocks than you might experience in a public school using public dollars. And hopefully that model can be replicated in other schools. Could you tell us a little bit about how you might imagine, or maybe I should wait until you've told us more about what the semester really looks like, but how you might imagine that replication going? Or maybe you want to start by telling us what it looks like.
Yeah, well, I usually like to start with solutions, but
Sure.
I think starting with the problem here, I actually think that teachers face a variety of challenges, and schools do, particularly in public schools where decisions are made kind of outside of the school building by others. And, part of what we see as the public purpose of private schools is to be innovative and dream up new ways of teaching and learning. And the traditional school model with subjects in their own little silos, your history class, your science class, it makes it really difficult for the type of interdisciplinary coursework that we're doing and the type of field trips that we have. And so many teachers haven't received training in climate literacy. I know that I did not when I went through my teacher training. I do think that's changing, so I think that's really great. But I think that, teachers, like any activist, really should start by making change where they have the power to make change within their classrooms in whatever way that they can. So, you could include a climate change unit or an environmental justice unit, or even I've heard of some teachers proposing these interdisciplinary science and history electives that are focused around climate solutions. I think that those are ways that all teachers can kind of make a difference. And even if they start a nature club.
Yeah. You started to kind of touch on ways that any teacher could do this, but what does the curriculum look like for the EJ at Laurel?
Well, I think I should start at home because this semester actually occurs in a 1950s repurposed house on our Butler campus. So it's filled with historic furniture that was, sustainably harvested from Laurel School, I would say, mostly from the attic. But the real classroom is Northeast Ohio. We see the entire learning community and environment as school. And we spend a portion of each week learning from and with local organizations who are experts in their respective fields and with grassroots community organizations. And the thing that I find the most compelling about our curriculum is that it's truly interdisciplinary. It's focused on real world work. So much of their work is focused around what we're calling their environmental justice action projects, which involve community partners in every step of the design thinking process, from listening and empathizing with people affected by injustice to prototyping their ideas to help those organizations. And, we're really lucky to have 3 partners this semester that our students are working with. And so that's really powerful.
Why design thinking of all things?
Because I'm a science teacher and a scientist at heart, and we really wanted to engage students in the science and design, the engineering principles. So, but they also participate in hands-on research within the forest, and they're working on ways to improve the forest ecosystem, and we call that our Forest Resilience Project. Started by some invasive buckthorn pulling 5th graders in a grant that I received. Shout out to all the teachers who write grants for your classrooms. There are so many. So this semester they're actually working on removing some invasive species that are just about ready to jump the creek and spread into the rest of the forest. That was what they determined was the hottest fire on our campus.
Got it. So they're making those kinds of decisions. Students are prioritizing and making decisions about their own learning and action.
They are. Being learner-centered is really important to us, and the students having choice in what they read and what they write. We're doing something called professional development, where a student can get credit for actually learning about something that they're passionate about. We've got one who's studying beekeeping. We have another student who has been joining the Sunrise Movement calls. So it's really a way for our students to explore their interests.
That's awesome. Anything else you want to share with us about the curriculum or sort of setup of the EJ semester?
Well, everybody asks me, well, how do you handle the math?
Yeah.
And what do you do with world languages?
Yeah.
And without our really robust asynchronous partner, One Schoolhouse, I don't know how we would do it. So they take 2 courses. Most students are taking 2 courses online, which is giving them also the benefit of learning how to do that when they get to college.
Yeah, that makes sense because we more and more, I think, are moving towards these hybrid models of learning. I can also think of ways that all of those things would intersect. You talked about world languages, and the first thing that came to my mind was how many languages we're in danger of losing as we take over habitat of indigenous people. I'm thinking about like in the Amazon and Brazil, people who live within places that are suffering from deforestation, and so losing those languages along the way. I'm not saying everyone's going to learn those languages in school, but I can see the intersection.
I think it's important for students to learn about that.
Yeah.
It's also really important for students to honor the fact that we are on land that does not originally belong to us. So we do, when appropriate, incorporate indigenous ways of knowing and have land acknowledgments that we use on our campus too.
That's great to hear. You talked a little bit about some partners. Are there other partners that you want to shout out that make the EJ possible?
Oh, I have to shout out, thank you for reminding me. I have to shout out the 3 partners that really said yes to working with our students on a weekly basis. The first, Chris Maurer over at Red House Architecture is doing some really exciting engineering work and also art. They're basically taking an invasive bush in Africa and turning it into building materials using mycelium, which if you don't know mycelium, watch out, you'll fall in love with mushrooms. It's the root of the plant, but they really have, it's just fascinating. So our students are also working on a study with MIT and CASE, and I can't really get into any details about that yet because it's still proprietary, which is so exciting.
I'll just clarify for anyone who's not Ohio, CASE is Case Western Reserve University.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
I also want to shout out Robin Brown, who is the founder of Collective Citizens Organized Against Lead. She's been a wonderful partner, and this is an example of a completely grassroots organization by someone who was affected directly with lead poisoning. And our students are helping her rebrand her organization. So they're creating marketing packages and all of this. But they have also listened to people and interviewed people directly affected by lead poisoning.
That's a huge issue in our community, more than just our community, but particularly in this sort of Rust Belt city that we live in. Absolutely.
Yep.
Glad to hear that they're working on that.
Yeah. And then we have Shaniqua Brown, who leads the Ohio chapter of Action for the Climate Emergency, or ACE. And she's really welcomed our students into a new campaign focused around air quality, which was a big issue here with the wildfires last year. And, she is helping our students connect to legislatures and lawmakers. They're really focused around House Bill 201 here in Ohio, which is seeking to limit local governments from limiting emission standards. So essentially they want to block people from limiting emission standards. And our students are working on that with her. So that's been really great. And I know we have a long list of partners that we can list at the end, but everyone from the Cleveland Department of Public Health, Ohio Environmental Council, Case Western's Environmental Law Clinic, the Metro Parks, our local Holden Arboretum, so many folks that have been willing to partner.
Awesome.